I look like shit. You guys are probably wondering why I'm not in my usual background, with all my cool knickknacks on my shelf. That's because this is gonna be my background for the next like 3-ish months or so. But I know you guys are gonna kill yourselves if you keep having to look at this blank wall. So I came up with a solution. I think you'll like it. Boom, baby! Here we go. We got heckin' Spider-Man straight out of the Raimi films with James Franco. You remember James Franco? He was in I don't know. He was in Spider-Man too. There we go. Yeah. Just fucking stay there. Look at this guy. This is a good boy. All right, so on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm reviewing a fish movie. So this is the review of the fish movie. I'm reviewing Aquaman. It's got fish in it, so it counts. Aquaman is a really weird movie, because I can't say it's a good movie, but at the same time, I really can't say it's a bad movie. It's got some good qualities to it, but it's not enough to save it from kind of being trash. But at the same time, it's not trash. It's such a weird paradox of a film. This was directed by James Wan, who actually does a pretty good job directing. I wouldn't mind seeing him direct a couple other superhero movies after this. Let's contextualize my opinion on the DCEU, because I feel like that's important when talking about a DCEU film. You need to know where this fan is coming from. And me personally, I think the DCEU is a travesty. They haven't made a good movie since Man of Steel, which was their first movie. And even then, that movie is not even great. I mean, it's better than, like, heckin' Thor the Dark World. But I would even say I would rather watch heckin' Captain Marvel. Why am I censoring myself? Fucking Captain Marvel. Oh, wait. No! Anyway, I would, it's nothing special, but, it's a good, it's better than the rest of the DCEU movies, that's for sure. So, I elbowed the boy. Anyway, so, after that, we had 3 years of nothing after, Man of Steel, which is like, why? You could have made several movies in that, time frame and perfectly set up, a Justice League movie, because we all knew this is where it was going. But no, they waited 3 years and made Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and it sucked dick. Sucked a big one. A big bat cock. Do you guys remember the comic that came out a couple months ago where we saw Bruce Wayne's junk? I miss that. They censored it. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, that movie was awful. The only thing I enjoyed was laughing at how bad Lex Luthor was. Jesse Eisenberg plays Lex Luthor. There's a great scene where he puts a Jolly Rancher in a boy's mouth, and he says, "Oh, it's cherry." He didn't put it in a boy's mouth. He put it in a man's mouth. I probably shouldn't have worded it like that. Now I'm gonna have the fucking FBI on my ass. Ah well. Then we have Justice League. No, we have Suicide Squad, and that was just an awful movie. I have a friend who wrote a paper about how that's a fucking travesty of filmmaking. And then, Wonder Woman came out, and that's the one everyone says is the good one. I disagree. It's a boring, tonally inconsistent mess, and it's got one of the worst third acts I've ever seen. Definitely in a superhero movie, and maybe even in a movie in general. And that's, gonna be honest, it's a bit embarrassing, especially since Rotten Tomatoes. I don't put a lot of faith in that website, but they put it on near the top of their 100 best superhero movies, and I'm like, all right, you guys need to learn how to rate your superhero movies. And then Justice League. That was the most disappointing experience I've ever had watching a movie Thank God I didn't pay to see that in theaters. And then, you know, at that point, after Justice League, I was like, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm not. I don't want to see Aquaman. That looks lame. I think Aquaman's a lame character, and you know, maybe I'll watch Shazam. I don't know. But you know. So the DCEU is no bueno, no bueno. As for Aquaman as a character, I think it's also important for you guys to know. I think he's pretty fucking lame. You know, he talks to fish and he swims good. Like, I can swim fucking good too. I might not be able to talk to fish, but I can swim good. Does that make me a fucking superhero? No. Alright? Doesn't make Aquaman a superhero either, alright? Fuck Aquaman and his orange and green tights, alright? By the way, his orange and green classic outfit that they give him in this movie looks like shit, but I'll get into that later. But, you know, this still manages to be the second best DCEU film behind Man of Steel. So what does that tell you about the quality of the DCEU, am I right? Anyway, so let's give a recap on the story. So, the story is Aquaman. He's swimming around the ocean. He's doing swimmy boy things where he swims. And he saves people in the ocean. It's his thing. And so, meanwhile, his half brother, King Orm of Atlantis, is plotting to take over the seas and call himself Seamaster, which I know it's a comic book name, but that's an awful comic book name. I mean, I guess there are other awful ones in the MCU too, like, you know, Malekith from Thor: The Dark World. In case you can't tell, I fucking hate Thor: The Dark World. And so he's trying to, King Orm, he's trying to, you know, become king of all the ocean. He's trying to get all the different nations of the ocean kingdoms. He's going to try to get them to come together, because Atlantis isn't the only one. There are a couple other ones. He's trying to get them to come together and go and invade the surface world, because humans pollute the ocean, and that pisses everyone off in the ocean. And so, then, you know, Aquaman's like, no, I'm gonna stop you. And it just kind of becomes a weird mishmash of different things. It becomes, you know, like, at one point, they go to the desert in a movie called Aquaman. I'll give them credit. They work it into the plot. You know, so it becomes a movie where it's like an Indiana Jones, and they're, you know, like on a desert adventure, and then it becomes they're doing very generic superhero battles in Italy, and then it's an arena movie where, you know, Aquaman's fighting fucking Patrick Wilson in a big ass Atlantis arena underwater. And then the ending is like that, and then the ending is like a big ass Lord of the Rings battle with fucking underwater crab people who live in like molten lava areas fighting Atlanteans who are riding sharks. It's a wild ass time of a movie. And that's why I give it so much credit, cuz it's well directed, because James Wan is a pretty good director. Clearly, he shows talent in this film. And then, you know, give him all these crazy-ass visuals to work with, and it's a fucking mind-boggling experience to watch. That's why I can't call this bad. You know, it's got that bad, you know, DCEU CGI, which has basically become a staple at this point, but goddamn, if I can't say I had a good time while watching this movie. I was laughing my ass off. It's an insane little movie. Let's talk about some things, you know, alright, let's talk about Aquaman. Like I said, I think Aquaman's a lame character. I like what the DCU is doing with him now. You know, he was probably one of my favorite parts of, Justice League, even though he didn't do much. I like how he's just kind of a big, buff kind of jerk. And he's less of a jerk in this movie. They try to give him an arc with Black Manta, where he leaves Black Manta's dad to die, and then you know, he kind of forgets about it until they need the emotional callback where he's like, man, I really should have saved Black Manta's dad, man. And then he just kind of forgets about it again. And the whole Black Manta thing is just setting up a sequel. For a while, I forgot, you know, Black Manta was in the movie, and then he just comes back in the movie. I'm like, oh, I know that boy. I remember now. I remember. And then Patrick Wilson is an interesting character in this movie as King Orm, because in the trailers, he's like totally phoning it in all the parts he's in the trailers. And those parts in the trailers where he's phoning it in, they're in the movie, but the rest of the movie, he's actually kind of a goofy, hammy character. And it's fun. God damn it, this movie's fucking fun. But I still can't say it's a good movie, and that pisses me off. What else is there? There's Willem Dafoe's here. He's just there to be like a little spy boy and try to, you know, get some of the deets from King Orm, then leak them over to Aquaman to help him. He's not as good as he was in Spider-Man, though. He's much better in Spider-Man. That's a much better superhero movie, the first Spider-Man with James Franco. Anyway, so, and then you have Amber Heard as Mera, and she's just generic love interest. She doesn't do a particularly bad job. She just doesn't bring anything to the character. Then again, the writing doesn't either, so I guess, you know, you get what you give, and, you know, when you know, you give your actor a script and they have nothing to work with in terms of character. The acting from the there are two flashback scenes with young versions of Aquaman. One is when he's like, you know, maybe 6 or 7, and the other one's when he's like maybe like 16 or 17. Oh no, there's another one I'm forgetting. See, there's a lot of forgettable shit in this movie too, which I'll get to in a minute. So there are 3 flashback scenes. There's the opening, which isn't really a flashback, I guess, because it's like chronologically it does go in the beginning of the movie, so I guess it works out. There's a scene where young 6 or 7-year-old Aquaman, he's at an aquarium, and then there's this really confusing moment where these kids start bullying him, and these 2 kids who are bullying Aquaman, they're part of a field trip. And so I'm sitting there like, oh, I guess Aquaman's on a field trip. But then I get a good look at these 2 bullies, and they're like, you know, maybe like 12, 13 maybe. So like, there's no way these groups would be on a field trip together. You know, like I don't think Aquaman skipped, you know, how many fucking grades he needs to go to be a 6th grader. No, a 6 or 7-year-old in, you know, with a bunch of 13-year-olds, which I think is probably about 6th grade or something. So you just have these like clearly older kids bullying this younger guy, and these older kids are on a field trip. Where's the teacher telling them to piss off? You know, so I found that to be pretty funny. And then there's also the little Aquaman kid can't act. And he doesn't have a lot to do, but he still manages to fuck it up. And I know he's a kid. I'm not gonna give him too much shit. I'm sure he's a nice kid, but you know, I wish we chose kid actors because they could act, you know. And so anyway, so while the kids are bullying Aquaman, like I said, they're at an aquarium. They're in front of a big fish tank. There's a shark in the fish tank. The shark, like, tries to bash through the glass. It actually cracks the glass of the aquarium tank. And everyone except Aquaman, you know, is in the aquarium. They're like, holy shit, that shark, it tried to come through the glass. And then Aquaman turns around. This little, you know, like I said, 6 or 7-year-old kid, he's fucking smirking. And then it zooms in and his eyes fucking change color. It's pretty funny, and that's also how they transition into their title card. And then there's I guess I'll call it the first flashback, or the next scene with the child actor. The next scene with the child actor is Willem Dafoe teaching a maybe 12 or 13, yeah, it's about 12 or 13-year-old Aquaman how to swim, breathe, talk underwater. And he's just like, hey, Willem Dafoe, can I meet my mommy? And Willem Dafoe's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, you can meet your mommy. Because he's a little insider information on Aquaman. Aquaman is an abomination. He's part Atlantean, part human, and so his Atlantis mommy is the queen of Atlantis, and then fucking Atlanteans took her away, and they executed her by throwing her in a trench. And so everyone throughout the entire movie until like the last half hour when it's revealed that Aquaman's mom, played by Keira Knightley, so I'm just gonna call her Keira Knightley, is alive, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Keira Knightley, she's dead. She's fucking dead, dude. It's obvious she's not, but I digress. So yeah, this kid, again, I don't want to bully a young actor, but don't pick actors unless they can act. God damn. And then we have the final young version of Aquaman scene where it's like a older teenager, probably about 17, and Willem Dafoe's training him how to use a trident. And this kid is the worst of the Aquaman actors, alright? So this is the big heart-wrenching scene where we see Aquaman learn that his mom has been executed at the trench. And so Willem Dafoe's like, yeah, your mom, I know I've been telling you for like the past, like, since you were like a little kid, so like, almost 15 years now, that you're gonna see your mom soon. She's fucking dead. We fucking threw her to these fucking sea monsters in a trench. He's like, what? They executed my mom? Ugh! That's pretty much what happens. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. This is a really funny movie. It's trying not to be, but it's a really funny movie. Let's talk about how the movie's also in many ways forgettable. Black Manta's in this movie for maybe like 20 minutes of total screen time, and you totally forget he's there. He's just like, whenever he shows up, I'm like, oh right, he's in this movie. He's in this movie. There's also like the scene in there's a scene where they go to Italy. They go to Italy, and it's just an action scene, and your eyes just glaze over because it's such generic superhero stuff. There's nothing a lot. Earlier I said James Wan does a good job, and he does do a good job. But this scene, he seemed to be on autopilot. Earlier scenes have a lot of nice dynamic camera work, and they're able to use the fact that these characters have water powers to their advantage. But during this scene, it's just kind of Atlanteans in bulky armor chasing around, and Black Manta chasing around Aquaman and Mera through, generic, like, Italy townscape. It's not a particularly interesting scene, and it doesn't it seemed like just, James Wan was on autopilot for that scene, it's just kind of bleh, and then, anything else? Well, obviously the CGI is going to be bad because it's a DCEU movie. What else do you expect? I don't know. There's really not much else to say about this movie other than in many ways it's entertaining, but in many ways I have to say it's not good. It's a weird movie. It's a paradox. It's a paradox of a movie. It's just, I don't know. One more thing. They go. Again, this movie's so forgettable. I forgot to mention at the end they go into the trench, right? And so they go into the trench, where Aquaman's mom was executed, and so they're Aquaman and Mera. They go into the trench. It's shot pretty well. There's a nice shot of Aquaman and Mera. It's going straight down the middle of the screen. They have a red flare which scares away the sea monsters, and so they kind of form they don't go near. I mean, I'm bad at describing things, but it's a nice shot, and then they get sucked into a vortex where they end up in fucking dinosaur world. They end up in Jurassic World. I'm not joking. There are fucking dinosaurs in this fucking movie. Like, not like a T-Rex, but they're like small, like little dinosaurs running around. I shit you not. And there they find, Aquaman's mom, who's alive. Big fucking shocker. And then, Aquaman, he's looking for this trident the whole fucking movie. And so he finally gets it after, like, fighting, not really fighting, but just kind of talking to a sea monster. And that's where he gets the gold and green outfit. And again, it looks awful. Aquaman's outfit doesn't work in this day and age, I think. You need, like, basically what they had beforehand, which is shirtless Aquaman with tattoos. I think that looks fine. So, that happens. And then the movie just, they have a big battle with crabs and sharks. Well, crab people and sharks and Atlanteans, and then Orm and, Aquaman fight, and then Aquaman beats Orm, and I don't know. There are scenes that are really good, and there's scenes that are just kind of bleh. That's about the whole movie. I don't know. I have such mixed feelings about this movie, and you could probably tell through this review because it's so scatterbrained. Because I have no idea what to say about this movie, if it's good or not. Because in many ways, I could say it's a good movie, but in many ways, I absolutely cannot say this is a good movie. Oh man, I don't know. The DCEU should just. I mean, if Batfleck was still there, I would say keep trucking on, because I enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman, but since he's gone now, I just fucking reboot the whole fucking thing. Although I know they're not gonna do that, because then people are gonna get pissed off because everyone's like, oh no, now they're good. Wonder Woman wasn't that good. Aquaman, like I'm saying right now, is a weird movie that I can't say is good, but I can't say it's bad, but that's not saying it's good. And then I don't know what's going on with Shazam, because everyone likes Wonder Woman and Aquaman, but who knows? Maybe Shazam is trash too. I don't know, man. I don't know. Aquaman's a weird movie. On terms of entertainment value, it's very high on the entertainment value, but on the other hand, as a movie, it's not that great. I think that's the big takeaway. Entertaining, yes, but as a movie, you're gonna be like, eh. So, I guess that's about it, I reviewed the Fish movie. Yeah. I am gonna give credit where credit's due, though, no homo, but damn. That Jason Momoa, he's a swole boy. He's got big old muscles. Look at me, I'm a muscly man. Alright, well, I think that's about it. Aquaman, I don't care if you watch it or not. Just go watch. Go watch Cars 3.